Hey, it's Brad here from Get Out There magazine, and today I am down here in the Parry Sound Muskoka region for the 2018 edition of Wilderness Traverse.
Wilderness Traverse is a 20 to 30 hour adventure race. It involves canoeing, mountain biking, trekking, all through the wilderness. Map and compass is a huge part of it, and we have teams of 3 or 4 racing through the night in the event.
The 2018 edition of Wilderness Traverse featured 5 legs. Leg 1 was a 16-kilometer mainly bushwhack trek. Leg 2 was a 60-kilometer bike through rugged ATV trails and technical hydro cuts. Leg 3 saw teams paddle and portage 37 kilometers through remote back lakes and the scenic Moon River. Leg 4 was a challenging 13-kilometer night trek. Leg 5, the final section, had teams bike 12 kilometers to the finish line. We got 150K, we got 48 teams, spirits are high, everyone is really excited. This is the premier adventure race in Ontario, and for good reason. It brings a lot of competition. The terrain is absolutely amazing, the scenery is fantastic.
Down the road, teams everywhere, gorgeous morning.
The racers just took off down the road. We've got about a 16-kilometer trek to start out. This first trek might mess with them a little bit. There's a few places they might be able to swim.
The first trek was mainly off-trail bushwhacking and featured plenty of route choice. Fast teams with good orienteering skills quickly moved through the mixed terrain.
First trek was kind of the big route choice leg of the race, where teams could opt to swim across some pretty significant stretches of water or run around the outside of McRae Lakes where we were.
The optimal route had 500 meters of swimming, though teams could avoid it, but added nearly 5 kilometers to their trek.
We're just skirting this, right there.
With the trek nearly complete, teams raced down roads to the transition area for the bike leg.
Moving pretty good though, I'm having a good time. Nav is really good, terrain was really nice. We're having a good time. Can't complain.
Just had to go for a swim and the map bag wasn't sealed all the way, so our paper maps turned into soup.
Gotta have the roll top map bags, not the zip map bags.
A bit cold because I haven't been moving in the transition. Hopefully when I get back on the bike we'll warm up.
Speeding away from the first transition, teams embarked on the longest leg of the race, a demanding 60-kilometer mountain bike ride. This section was rendered a total slog due to soupy trails from heavy rains the night before.
The bike leg was probably the toughest leg of the race this year. 60 kilometers, but it was more tough because of the conditions. It's been raining a lot in the area, so it was a very muddy and wet trail.
Lovely bike trail. Sure, it's rideable some time of the year.
So a lot of challenges, a lot of bike mechanicals on that bike leg. We had probably, I think, 12 teams end up DNFing just because of how hard it ended up being.
As racers pushed deeper into the backcountry, they faced countless hike-a-bike sections around bottomless mud puddles, bogs, and up slick hills.
I just muck straight up a hill.
Brutal! Teams continued to slog on the bikes to the Musquatch River, where a unique boat ferry would shuttle them downstream and across to the other side.
Not every day you get a little pontoon ride.
The ferry was a welcome break for teams. But once they were across the river, it was back to slogging bikes through the washed out trails. After over 6 hours of pedaling, teams arrived at the transition area for the paddle leg. The lead teams would arrive with a few hours of daylight to spare, but for many, they would continue toiling away on the bikes well into the night.
Well, we're happy to be off the bike for sure. I think the paddle could be a little chilly at nighttime, but we're a pretty good paddling team, so hoping to make up some time, I guess.
After the bike leg, they went into about a 36-37K backcountry wilderness paddle. And they went from Kapakog Lake down into the Moon River water system, out the Moon River, past Curtain Chute, Twin Falls, Moon River Falls, some beautiful waterfalls. There are some tricky portages through this paddle. It's a remote paddle. The portages are not marked for the majority, so that could trip some teams up just trying to find those portages. Beautiful paddle. Unfortunately, the teams were mostly there in the dark, but I think they got a sense of how powerful those falls were when they went by. And then back up to Pete's Place access point to the Massasauga Provincial Park, where we started the final trek.
We were freezing at one point, and we had to layer up, and after that was pretty good. So the key is to stay nice and warm.
Welcome to fire and your soup.
Oh, fire sounds bad. Soup sounds... Fire likes to suck you in.
Yeah. Alright, Mr. Canoe Head. Last portage.
It's fine, except I am soaked.
With the paddle complete, teams fueled and changed at the transition area before once again embarking on a trek leg.
We're going to have about another 12-kilometer trek. That trek is probably not as complicated as the first one, but because it's in the dark, that poses a lot more challenge for teams getting through there.
You are here, and we go here, there, and there. Something like that. Oh, fun times in the woods with my friends.
And most teams were trekking in the dark for at least all of it, or a good portion of that trek, which is probably the most challenging thing we do in wilderness traverse is nighttime trekking. And that brought them back up closer to Grand Tapatu.
The second trek leg was full of tricky nighttime navigation, and teams had to take a multitude of bearings to keep them on course.
We're going that way.
The trek was long, but the nav was bang on. ADRIAN pumped us out within 15 meters of that final checkpoint, which is sweet because it was like a 2-kilometer bushwhack.
That trek sees them on to Salmon Lake Road, and the road's back to the finish. They've just got a 12-kilometer bike ride back to Grand Tapatu Resort on the shore of Otter Lake to end the race.
Okay, boys, let's go.
The final leg had teams speeding down cottage roads. Short course racers skipped the trek and bike and paddled an alternative canoe leg. Both courses converged at Grand Tapatu and the finish line for the 9th edition of Wilderness Traverse.
Yeah. Well done. I could not be happier with these two navigators. Awesome navigators. Everything was bang on, and it was a tough course, but we made it back.
Course winners here!
Thanks for coming. Always great to get out there covering the event. We love having you guys in the race, so thanks guys.